Yeah, Ms. Gift, I think that for us to have regard for the time of others, I think we should do what we have to do. I think we should start.
We should start, sir. Others will join us.
So you called us for this meeting, so you start the meeting, then when it's my turn, I'll come up.
Okay, sir. Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gift. You are all welcome to IPAIM, Institute of Institute of Physical Assets and Infrastructure Management. This is our first webinar welcoming you to the platform. So for today's webinar, one of our council members will be taking us, and his name is Dr. Samson. Dr. Samson, please, you are welcome to this webinar. Please go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let me say good afternoon to everybody. If you are here, can you unmute yourself and let's just know that we have an audience here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you. And I also want to thank the Institute of Physical Assets and Infrastructure Management for the invitation given to me to speak on the subject matter. I know that originally this lecture was meant to be for the student community, but over time, the organizers told me they would like to also have other people take part in it. So do not then be, you will have to pardon me if I have to be struggling with having to mix students with core professionals, but it is meant to be an introductory series. Myself and Professor Precious are actually supposed to be speaking to the young professionals. So we have called the program the Young Professionals Cohort. And I know that the lecture is both relevant for young professionals and even senior professionals as well. So you will permit me to share this slide. It is meant to be for 1 hour, of which there will be a time to answer some questions that you might have. I am expected to speak for about 45 minutes, and then we will then raise questions from what I'm supposed to speak about, and then we can interact for another 15 minutes, and then we'll call it a wrap. So the theme to be considered this afternoon is asset management and infrastructure management in Nigeria, the prospects of a brilliant career. Please, if I'm not audible enough, please call my attention to it. I'm trying not to raise my voice so that you can still enjoy all that I have to give to you. A little bit about myself. My name is Samson Akinyosoye. I'm essentially a member of the Institute and a fellow of the Institute. I am an architect by profession, and I also have other experience in other areas. So talking about physical assets and infrastructure is not a strange thing to me. And when the institute was about to be birthed, I joined one of those who actually sought to the think tank that formulated the principles and the philosophies of the practice. I want to say that it is a new profession, but it has its roots in other developed climes where they have been able to develop the body of knowledge around asset management, around infrastructure management, and they've been able to use that to actually bring about some meaningful impacts in their society, in their economy, and across all the spectrum of their asset and infrastructure base. I have over 20 years in management consulting, business consulting. I've been in the development space for more than 20 years now. I've worked around um, civil construction, building construction, infrastructure design, and concession, procurement, and development. I've been around a couple of other things centering around physical development generally. And the industries I've been able to uh, act in have spanned from construction to real estate, oil and gas, marine, and some other related sectors like that. Well, my education is not that rich, but I have both first and second degrees from the Obafemi Awolowo University in architecture, but ever since then, I have acquired certification in many other fields, business analysis, project management, management consulting, city designs, and all the likes. I've authored many publications, and that has given me the opportunity to contribute my own little token to discourses around national development. And I want to believe that this is just one of those things that we were doing. And like I did say in my introduction, that this is centered, is actually young professional centric. And the idea is for them to catch the picture of the prospects in being a professional, a practitioner, or an active stakeholder in asset management as well as infrastructure management within the geographical definition of Nigeria. And we can boldly say that our economy being a growing one, I know that we are Nigerians. Many people will not agree with me that our economy is growing, but I don't think the World Bank does not believe so, because both the World Bank and the IMF usually give some positive outlook about the prospects of our economy. So they will tell you that Nigeria's economy is growing by 3%. You know, they'll tell you that quarter one, quarter two, we showed remarkable progress in our GDP growth, even though I know that the average Nigerian will tell you that he's hungry. But the honest truth is that the indices they use in measuring the growth of your country and your economy is pointing northwards. Maybe the leadership of the country have not been able to domesticate the potentials of the projections that they have given to the base level that will affect the common man. But that's a different discussion for the economists and the leaders to worry about. But one thing we cannot take away is that our country has an economy that has a lot of opportunities. And these opportunities will open up new ways, new vistas for professionals. And when we look at the subject matter of asset management and infrastructure management, we can see that the prospects for growth is also very, very considerable and significant. And for whosoever is a player in this sector, you will see that the opportunities are actually there, they are abound. If you look at what our government has done in the past 15 years, you will see that they've gone to call on everyone that could be of help to us. And these ones have actually come to give us a lot of, would you mind this? And these ones have actually gone ahead to help us in pulling investment into our country. So you see rail lines happen here and there. You see transport infrastructure, they are being put up here and there. You will see that we are building stadia, we are building retail facilities and all the likes. They won't bring their monies here if your country is not viable. They know that even if they are giving it to you as a loan, they are very sure that you have the capacity to pay. Even if you don't have the capacity to pay, they know that they have assets they can always lay claim to. So we can boldly say that there is prospects. So this presentation will provide the young professionals a comprehensive overview of the diverse career prospects that are available within these two sectors. Okay, I would want to say also that we are talking about a two-pronged uh, profession. That's what the Institute actually is concerned about. The first is physical assets. I will go ahead to define what that means much later. Then the second leg of it is infrastructure. Let me confirm that I still have my audience with me. Do I have people here listening to me?
Yeah, we're still with you, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. We are with you, sir.
Now, I'll give you an outlook of asset and infrastructure base of Nigeria. And these figures I'm going to give to you, they are actually verifiable. You can go fact check them. And the sources were also quoted there. So the African Development Bank says that right from 2002, before 2002, up until 2002, which is just about 2 years ago, our infrastructure stock was estimated to be about a third of our gross domestic products. And this is still far below the 70% benchmark that you see in other land and climate. But if we check the updated records of what we must have added to what this record was in 2022, you probably also see that we have made some significant progress. Maybe by now, even if we haven't been able to reach 70%, which is the benchmark, probably would have been hovering around 45%, 50%. But you also see in another report authored by Nigeria itself that we have a deficit of about $100 billion annually that we should have been committing into infrastructure development. So if we had all the resources, Nigeria, with a population of about 230 million, ought to be adding about $100 billion every year because we have such deficits. And if you put in that kind of money in Nigeria, there is enough places to take them. Okay, so currently the government is embarking on the Lagos-Calabar road project. That Lagos-Calabar road project is actually a ring or a belt that is supposed to be like a rectangle that will encircle Nigeria. So one is meant to be starting off from Lagos and ending on the south-south axis in Calabar. Another is meant to be taken off from Badagry to be terminating somewhere in Sokoto. Another is meant to be going from Sokoto straight down to Maiduguri and then come down through Ogoja, Cross River to go and connect with the Lagos Calabar. It is meant to be that you will be able to have a road network that can enable you move people, goods and services from region to region at the shortest possible time. So when you go to the United States and you talk about the I-25 or the I-40, they are transnational routes, big 6-lane road that span from the north to the south, east to west, and across the country. And you can imagine the economic impact such will make. Let me just take some topical themes under this outlook. Now, Nigerian Railway Network covered approximately about 3,800 kilometers. 3,800 kilometers just from Lagos to Abuja is about 700 kilometers. From Abuja to Kano, no, let me even go to Sokoto. From Abuja to Sokoto is around 500 kilometers. From Abuja to Maiduguri is around 800 kilometers. Imagine if we have a rail network that connects all the various economic zones in Nigeria. Currently, we only have 3,800. Imagine if we have up to 20,000 kilometers of rail lines. It will enable our movements. It will fast track economic development. That's one thing they have in Europe. Every region is connected by rail. Rail moves millions of people every day from one location to the other. It's cheaper, it's faster. It's cheaper, it's faster. There is less congestion about traffic. Then probably you also gain some environmental benefits. You probably have low carbon emission. Imagine how many millions of vehicles ply our roads every day. But one particular rail can move thousands of people and will eliminate thousands of vehicles on our roads. Let's look at the power sector. Our capacity actually, as of 2023, generation capacity is 13,000 megawatts. Only about 4,500 is being able to be distributed. Now, all this picture paints the prospect of bigger opportunities for whoever is in that sector. Even though we do not have plenty of it, but even the little that we have requires the manpower to be able to manage them. And which is why this institute is poised to build men and women, intelligent people, professionals that can help in managing, that can help in procuring, conceiving all that we need in the physical access space and infrastructure space for us to have an optimal and beneficial investment in infrastructure and assets for Nigeria. If I go on and on, maybe we'll send these slides to you much later. You will see all the various, sectors of our national life that you will see that we haven't really scratched the surface. There's so much that we have, but there's still so much that we need to do if we will get there. And you cannot deny the fact that, yeah, even though they're not succeeding that much, but every government will always lay out its own plan to see what it can use in developing its own economy with the physical infrastructure that it thinks it could get. And usually, it is an escape route for them to go and access all kinds of loans to do this. Whether they do it is a different matter. Now, Nigeria's digital economy was projected to reach $139.3 billion in 2025. And this in itself will require some huge investments in infrastructure. When we have this, who are the people that will stay to put them in place and then subsequently manage them? That is falling on the shoulders of people like you and I that we're trying to raise from this institute. Okay, so let's start with the asset management part of it. Like I told you, is in two parts. physical assets and infrastructure mining. Let's start with the physical assets. Now, the industry of physical assets, largely when you talk about infrastructure, we talk about national assets. But when you look at individual corporates, corporate organizations, the schools, the hotels, the banks, the companies, the manufacturing industries, they too have their own individual investment in assets, i.e., their plants and equipment, their power generating sets, their physical movable assets, their motor vehicles, and so on and so forth. These all represent physical assets. And you will see amongst all the various entrepreneurial concerns in Nigeria, there has been growth in this because as demands increase, the productive sector also will need to increase its capacity. In trying to increase its capacity, we will continue to make investments into its own asset base. And this asset base requires physical asset managers who are then responsible for the oversight and the optimization of such companies' physical assets. So physical asset managers collaborate with various departments to develop and implement strategies that they will use in maximizing their asset value, extending their asset life, and minimizing their operational costs. Many other, disciplines and processes and procedures are involved in actually bringing forth an asset to be used for productive purposes. Some of such includes designing, in fact, before designing, includes scoping, from scoping to designing, from designing to procurement, from procurement then to maintenance. So there are a plethora of things they now do within this scope, including valuation, maintenance, planning for it, risk management, environmental impact, evaluation, maintenance of it through its life cycle to its eventual disposal. These are what asset managers concern themselves with. So what are the responsibilities of asset managers? We put them under three major categories. Their roles center firstly around asset optimization, because they need to maximize the value of and the efficiency of every company's assets. So the principal among the things that they do is to begin to deploy the fundamental principles, the processes, the procedures, the strategies, the machineries that will help organizations get the best out of this. It could include that they will have to conduct regular asset assessments, identifying those assets that are likely underutilized, and then implementing strategies to make them quite optimal. They also are very much involved in the life cycle management of assets, from the point where the needs assessments are done to the point where they are actually gotten, maintained, managed, used, and then taken out. So you see that their role covers the entire life cycle of the physical asset from acquisition to disposal. They develop and implement asset management policies, procedures, and standards, and so on and so forth. Key thing that usually is considered when trying to acquire an asset is the CBA to be done, the cost benefit analysis. Why would we choose B instead of A? And why would we have to go for D, even though it is more expensive than an E? Asset managers do CBAs to be able to determine which is the best choice for the organization. They also are involved in risk management. For those who have been in managerial positions in many other sectors outside of even asset management, you will see that managers are responsible for conducting risk assessment for every decision that the organization makes. Every decision that you make has an element of risk. And what are risks? Risks are unforeseen circumstances that might impact you as you plan to do your task. So asset managers also look in the area of risk management for assets. Let's now move into infrastructure. This one gets a bit more interesting because virtually all of us could relate with it. Virtually all of us could see the roads being built. We can see the power plants being built. We can see the rail lines. We can see the telecoms infrastructure. We can see the health infrastructure that is being built. Everyone can relate with it. But you know that getting them on ground is no mean feat. And from the time that Nigeria ever knew civilization, it has always been involved in acquiring infrastructure that they will use to propel development. So for us in Nigeria, infrastructure management encompasses many things, including planning, development, and maintenance of all our critical systems and services across telecoms, utilities, transportation, and so on and so forth. They are very, very, very essential for our growth, for the overall quality of life of the Nigerian citizens, and even for social welfare. So we continue to run after this. But the question is, are we getting the best of it? Many critical infrastructure are owned by Nigeria. A country like India that seems to be getting it right now is getting it right because they probably have people who are correct, whose heads are correct in power now. They gave so much attention to the professionals who manage their infrastructure. In fact, they have not less than 5 universities of engineering and infrastructure. We are just trying to scratch the surface. And I must say to you also that the government is looking in the direction of this that we're doing because our bill is actually in the National Assembly to actually give backing to this profession as a recognized profession, and that people are going to be receiving licenses to practice as infrastructure professionals. So these are the various sectors that you have under the infrastructure space. Of course, there are more. There are more. So what then are the skills and qualifications that are required for those who are practitioners in the infrastructure management space? First and foremost, there is a need for them to have technical proficiency. Of course, that stands to reason because everything around infrastructure has many things to do with the technical components. Then the ability to have strategic planning capacity in place is very, very important. Someone will always say that if you fail to plan, you are planned to fail. For every endeavor that you have, strategic planning is very key in it. And this is because you need to think in both long, short, and the near term in all your asset acquisition deliberation. So strategic planning skills are important. Then the ability to manage stakeholders is also very key. Both assets and infrastructure impact directly the lives of people. And as such, whensoever you get them in place, it is still going to have some kind of influence upon their life, whether it is positive or negative. And then within the planning, acquisition, management, and disposal space, Many other people are also involved. The decision makers are involved. The financiers are involved. The users are there. Even the builders are there. Those who are going to fabricate this are there. Then those who would think that environmentally they are disadvantaged by the situation of such assets are also there. So stakeholder management skills are very, very important for us to know. And it's important for us to also know that they are actually highly regulated. They are very regulated. And you need to understand the regulatory framework that surrounds infrastructure acquisition and the laws surrounding it. One of the laws we have in Nigeria around infrastructure is the Infrastructure Concession Act, I think of 1993, thereabouts. So for every of the relationship you see Nigeria have with China, that you see that CCCC is doing all across Nigeria, there is an enabling law that backs up that relationship. Currently, I was supposed to be working on one project last week. And when I looked at the document, there is this land somewhere around the Keja Jerry that was meant to be sold to one of my own clients. And I discovered that land belongs to the government. When we asked them to present the documents for the land, I saw that they needed to get the backing of the ICRC, Infrastructure Concession and Regulatory Commission, before they could actually deal on that land. So that's to show to you that there is always a legal framework that surrounds infrastructure management and development. Okay, so what are the emerging trends in this asset management and infrastructure management space? Many things are happening, many acts, practices, and developments are coming around this, and they are opening up new areas of discussion. People are talking about some other interesting topics around it, and one of such is the increasing incursion of technology into infrastructure designing, management, and the disposal. There is the awareness that technology is now getting to be integrated into it. We also talk about the subject of sustainability. It's not just enough for us to put up a plan for us to put certain infrastructure in place, but we also need to begin to talk about how do we sustain them? How do we ensure that they are going to serve us in the long term? How do we also ensure that for our environment, this is also going to impact us positively? How are we going to also ensure that the social psyche of the people around there is actually very much in the positives? How do we ensure that the inputs into getting them to work optimally are available? Not that we have them for a while, then we can no longer support them because the inputs to get them to continue to work are no longer available. Sustainability. And then we also need to begin to talk about modernization. You know, as a nation, we must continue to look at how to continue to develop it, continue to upgrade it, continuously improving as the procuring authorities, that we must continue to find how to integrate newer and newer discoveries. When you look at our refineries, one of the biggest problems with our refineries, why they will not work, is because the technology for refining petroleum products has shifted from the ones that we had in the 70s. So if you had a car, if somebody is still in this Nigeria driving a Toyota Corolla of 1982, that person may not likely going to be able to maintain it now because the parts are not even available anymore. Talk less of the manpower for you to be able to get them to work. So we are now expanding discussion around modernizing what we have. Okay, so what are the career paths for those who are considering entering into this sector? Opportunities avail at different cadres and at different level. Whether you are at entry level or you are in the middle of your career or even at the top management level, we find asset managers and infrastructure managers having their place within this sector. Depending on where you are on your career ladder within that sector, you can actually fit in. At entry levels, we now see roles for junior asset managers. We can see roles for project coordinators, infrastructure inspectors, engineers, and all of that. With this, you will be able to gain hands-on experience, and then you can build your own foundation therefrom. But if you are in mid-career, there is also a place for you in there. And then for those who are at the top, we find roles like chief asset managers, infrastructure directors, CEOs, and many. And these largely steer the strategic directions of organizations in matters around assets and infrastructure management. Well, if you are planning to start up a career there, there are a couple of things you must consider so that you can be better placed. You must continue to look for ways to gain practical experience, and continuous learning is key. Continuous learning is key. Newer and newer concepts are propping up every day that you need to acquaint yourself with, and you must be adaptable and resilient. It is not for the faint-hearted. You need to cultivate the habit to think critically, to adapt to change, to even ride on the wings of that change. Don't allow it to ride you. You take charge of it. In the institutes are many programs, continuous development programs, training programs, certification programs. All these are put in place so that you will be able to own your skills and get to attract better prospects in it. For the future, we can say that the outlook is very promising. The outlook is very promising. As many and many more commercial concerns are coming up, needing to invest in assets, as the country is also looking at its own deficits, needing to shore up its deficits, it means that there will be something for you in the longer term. Just like for the medical profession, as the population continues to increase, people will continue to have medical conditions, and health professionals will always be in demand. So it is for those who are in this space that as you continue to see more and more investment trooping in, then there will be need for many more players to come and situate themselves in that ecosystem. The value chain will be more robust, and that means that there will be many more hands and brains that will be recorded. You have a very rewarding career prospect right ahead of you, and that can only give you a brilliant future. Let me close this presentation by just saying a little bit about the Institute of Physical Assets and Infrastructure Management. I want to believe some of the leaders are in this presentation. I hope they are. If they are, they will still say one or two things to what I've said here. Let me see. Okay, the president is here. He will say something when I round up. This is just an introductory series. By next week or so, we are going to be having another webinar, this time around talking about sustainability of our physical assets and our infrastructure assets. We've gotten scholars and resource persons from across the world. I think one of our facilitators from Asia will be talking to us next week or so I need to confirm that from the Education Committee, and we'll be inviting you again to join us. The Institute of Infrastructure, Physical Asset and Infrastructure Management is a foremost and renowned professional body. And if you ever picked everything that I've spoken about from the beginning of this lecture, 45 minutes ago, you will be well assured that it is these kinds of discussions and needs and potential that the Institute intends to develop in people so that they can prepare them for the opportunities that are available. So we are so much concerned with knowledge development, developing best practices, and creating the awareness of these benefits to the society. Individuals, corporate organizations, all stand to benefit from what the Institute has to offer. At the moment, there are 4 categories of individual membership. There is corporate membership though, but for the individuals, you can find your place among the 4 cadres: students, members, associates, then certified members. The most prestigious cadre of the Institute are the fellows. Each of them have their own criteria for eligibility. And I want to point you to the Institute website. Maybe before the end of this, the fellows from the Secretariat will share the Institute website with you. I understand some have registered to become members. They will be communicating to you all that you will need to do to be eligible for membership. Let me stop at this point and thank you for listening to me. You will have the opportunity to ask questions for the next 15 minutes before we go. But maybe I should bring in the president at this time to say a word or two, maybe to add to what I've just said and to also tell you a little more about the Institute. Mr. President, sir, are you able to address us? Hello, Dr. McCarthy. I don't know if you are, can you unmute yourself and speak to us?
Yeah. How are you?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Now, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I want to thank you for finding time to participate in this today's program. And like our brother, Architect Samson Akinyosoye has beautifully enumerated the importance and the need of this our profession. You'll discover that it's an enormous task. And you also will agree with us that it's something that has been lacking in Nigeria. So you discover that even in our house, the way we use our generator, the way we use our asset carelessly, we don't bother about maintaining them. We don't even bother about what kind of asset we are going to acquire. And then you look at all across the nation, dilapidated building everywhere. So at the point, we now came to a conclusion. So what do we do to resolve all this issue? So that's what gave birth to this Institute of Physical Asset and Infrastructure Management. Today, you discover, let me just use this Surulere, that stadium. You discover that stadium has been abandoned over the years. And you look at the National Theatre, if not for the bankers committee who took it upon themselves to go and renovate that asset would have been mobbed. So the Institute has come to say, we want to professionalize planning, professionalize planning assets and infrastructure management. So what is asset management? Asset is anything that can last more than a year, to whatever year. It also has to do something from cradle to grave. Conceptualization of what kind of asset you want to acquire. Sometimes you manufacture them. Some assets are not just like you go and pick a generator of a Mencano, install, commission, and run. Some of them have to involve designing, manufacture, then you test run, then you install, you commission, you start running. And when you run, you continue to maintain. You maintain at a point in time, because nothing that is not susceptible to failure or whatever, you overhaul. And when you overhaul, you continue to run. And when you run to a point, it comes to a point that you have to dispose of the asset. So this is just the embodiment of what we do. We want to professionalize it. We want to call everybody on board to ensure that we take maintenance seriously. Maintenance seriously. In every organization, in every sector, whether you are in private sector or public sector, we want us to create a department called asset management. Asset management is a holistic approach to assets, to infrastructure and asset management. It's not just like maintenance or facility managers or maintenance managers. It involves, like Sam said, it involves a lot host of people: accountants, economists, architects, engineers, particularly accountants, because no matter what asset you want to buy, finance is key. If these finance people don't provide the money, you cannot even acquire assets. You look at our government, every day is procurement. Where is the budget for maintenance? Look at all the railways now. If you enter, when those railways were first of all instituted, they were beautiful. But go back to then, now your heart will bleed. Bleed because we are just like a wasted generation, where things are not done properly. I don't want to belabor you with all those pie cry, but here we are to institutionalize asset management culture in every facet of Nigeria. So we want you to come on board. You have to bring people along. This is a crusade for everybody, not just only we. Not only we that established this asset management. We have got across to every sector. Today you have me as the president. I have a PhD in higher education administration. Then the second vice president, the first vice president is retired General Tony Rabo, who is the former chief of the defense staff. You could now discover that the caliber of people that are behind this institute and just no pushovers. And the other man, the gentleman that was discussing with you, is an architect of great repute. You understand? So we welcome you on board, and then we'll let us see what happened thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hello.
Mr. President. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that insightful charge. It is a clarion call that we all must heed. We must all rise up to take the future of our country so seriously. And not just our country, for the various organizations that we represent. I'm glad to announce that many government institutions have declared their interest to also join us in this crusade. We have the Nigerian Air Force asking us how they can send in their members for their training. And if I will not forget, I think that I should give us the benefit of also enjoying some of the programs that we have in stock for our institutes. We have an event coming up very shortly. It's called an executive conversion course. It's a program that is meant to be an executive program that will launch people into the membership cadre, the certified membership cadre of the institutes. And I know that they must have shared some of the image, the marketing collaterals with us. There's an executive conversion program coming up on the 29th and 28th of this month, but that will be in Abuja. We have tried to take it all around Nigeria. There is a version of it coming to Lagos for us who are living and practicing in Lagos. There is also a version that will be happening in Port Harcourt and then Kano. I would want us to take advantage of it. The publicity team, they are sharing that on all our platforms. So take advantage of it and become a certified member. It is going to be a program that will feature prominent practitioners and erudite scholars who will expose you to this profession. And then, having gone through 2 rigorous and extensive training on this, you will be inducted as a certified member. Of course, there is an examination module that is going to be implemented. The Abuja version is happening next week. I think the registration fee is about 150,000 naira. The modules, there are about 9 modules to be treated. When you do register, they will give you all those details. And plans are on to have an online version of it, virtual version. In the event that you think that you cannot come physically to those venues, you can actually join virtually. The Secretariat will be able to give you more information about that. You can also visit the website www.ipaim.org.ng for more information. Thank you so much for your time. Let me now open the floor for 1 or 2 questions, and then we can call it a wrap. So if you do have a question, can I see you by show of hands so that I can take the questions? I want to take all the questions together so that I can answer them together. Anybody with a question there? Anyone with a question? So, I think that nobody is ready to ask a question. Are you still on with me?
Yes, we are on.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. So I can see the hands of Court Tamara. Oh, please. Is there another person raising his or her hands so that I can know how many questions? Okay, Court, you have the floor. Court Tamara, your question, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, can you hear me? Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, good afternoon. For your presentation, though I actually came in late because I had some other activities I needed to round up. But the part I came in, I must commend your effort and your presentation and that of the president as well. Just one question about membership entrenchment. I wanted to find out the difference between being a certified member, and I think I overheard you mentioning the corporate membership as well. And so where do we come in all this, as in what are the difference between being a corporate member or probably a certified member? What are these all about? I think that would be my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that question. Can I take Ismail? Ismail, unmute yourself and ask a question.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the speaker and everyone that has spoken today for the section. It was quite insightful. My question would be, what has the Institute been doing in terms of putting it out there, sensitizing people of how important this kind of thing is? Because I mean, it shouldn't be government infrastructure only. It could be all these big companies as well. How they manage their asset and how it's done. That's number one question. The second question would be regards to architects. Have we then started discussing with maybe the institute like Akon or MNIA about educating the architects of how it's important for them to also have the knowledge of assets, because basically for you to have a proper assets management, you need to have a well informed or well populated drawings with a lot of information. That's where you then extract those data from. So how are we trying to get those informations out there to all of those people that would help in making this a success? Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail, for those questions. Okay, so I think those were the two people who raised their hands. All right, let me start with Kurt's question, the delineation of the membership categories. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that on the individual side, we have the students members, the associates, then the certified members and fellows. Then I also mentioned corporate membership. Corporate membership are for organizations. They are for organizations, public, private, non-profits, and all the likes, because the subject matter of asset management and infrastructure cuts across all sectors. In fact, it's indeed an intersectoral matter. So only organizations can be corporate members, but for individuals, we have the students level, which is what it is. You are still in school, but you want to create that consciousness in you and then show you the picture of the prospects in that career. Then for associates, associates are members who started their journey in trying to become a certified member. So let me now talk about certified members. With the bill currently with the National Assembly, it is going to then become a matter of certification before you can be regarded as a substantive member of the institute. In other words, there is going to be some level of licensure. Having gone through the various stratified knowledge requirements, you will be certified through the different modes of examinations. And then you can then have an appellation. You can then carry that certification with you. From certification to fellowship, fellows are also certified members who have also gone through the stratified knowledge cadre that I just talked about. But the associates are those who are still on their journey to get to that platform where they become certified and they are licensed so to practice the profession. So I think that answers that question. Corporate members are organizations. Ismail talks about what the Institute is doing to sensitize the public. I must tell you that a lot has been done in the past. Quite a lot has been done in both mainstream and the digital media space. I'm sure if you probably type into your Google something around physical asset and infrastructure management in Nigeria, you see lots of works and engagements that the Institute has had with the public, trying to sensitize them, trying to let them see the need for this, and also giving them opportunities to know how they could become members. We also are very much visible in the digital media space. And we are also engaging in advocacy. I must also then say to you that what we are doing currently at this hour is also part of sensitization, which then means that you and I that are here are supposed to be ambassadors of this new mindsets, of this new message. We are supposed to be ambassadors of it. Let someone tell someone who will tell someone who will tell someone that we need to begin to think nation building together. We need to begin to think about the states together. And what best way to do it than to be in the community of those who are very, very much concerned about this. As we speak today, this is still the only institute that is talking and thinking about our infrastructure. I've seen a couple of attempts in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, and all of that. But we are the ones that are starting up this discussion in the Nigerian space. And you also did mention that what have we done to reach out to other sister organizations like Nigerian Society of Engineers, Nigerian Institute of Architects, and Nigerian Institute of Public Administration, Accounting, and all of that. It's work in progress. This subject matter is an interdisciplinary subject that engineers are going to be involved, geologists are going to be involved, designers are going to be involved. Yes, architects are designers, but you will agree with me that the engineers are more involved in infrastructure design than even the architects. And so we are in talks at several fora with these allied bodies. I am also an architect, and I may have some leanings or bias for the architecture profession to take a vantage place in this subject matter. But I also know that on that table, very many, the president is an accountant. I am one of the leaders and members of council. I am an architect. There are engineers amidst us. There are geologists. There are administrators amidst us. There are military officers. There are finance experts amidst us, because it cuts across all of us. But I know in due season, we'll get everybody to sit at this table. And that has also automatically enlisted you. You're already on the table. So join us, be a part of what we're doing, see what you can also do to contribute your own quota to the development of the institute. I want to believe I answered that question. Having said that, I think my own job...
Just a quick one, Mrs. Sam.
Yep.
Sorry if I might just chip in. For the corporate members, it means that they're going to benefit from so many things. Maybe a reduction in membership rates, or when we have conferences, they can come to showcase their things and what they do. Peradventure, maybe MTN, Shell, Chevron, they are bringing members where they have to get discounts, and all the time they will get newsletter of the recent development in physical asset and infrastructure management. You understand? So that is key. And another thing, when I had that our architect brother, you discover it is very key. Why do houses have to collapse? It's just because we don't do an asset integrity test. We don't even look at the environmental situation of a particular asset, and even citing the asset or the infrastructure in a particular place. Look at Tomeland Bridge. We don't demand. We come to a point where we must insist. You want to construct a road, we must insist minimum 25 years or 50 years. Look at Tomeland Bridge. Every day is being shut down for maintenance. It means at the consolidation of that asset, certain things weren't done properly. You understand? These are the challenges that we have. This is the advocacy. And two, like Mr. Sam said, all of us are going to be enlisted. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one person. Revolution is started by one person, and before you know, everybody has called the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Gift, I think my own job is done. I will want to hand over to you and thank my audience for listening to me, and hoping that whensoever we call you for another event, hopefully next week or thereabouts, you will find time to join us. And please make inquiries about the executive conversion course. It's a very fast route for you to become a certified member, and the program starts next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Samson, for your talk. We really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And I thank every one of us that take their time to listen to this webinar. So we hope to see you next week when we'll be having the next series. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much.